This video is a video about all of the Swedish kings since 1523. All of these are like, in my opinion, and doesn't have to be right. And if you want to, you can search more about these kings and look what you think about them and talk about those in the comments. Okay, so first, or more said last, because it's the 23rd place, we have Frederick I of Sweden. He ruled from 1720 to 1751, and during those years he basically did nothing. He cheated on his wife. He had his second wife in the house next to his wife, that by the way was the heir to the Swedish throne. So therefore I'm gonna put him on 23rd place. Okay, so to the second place we have Gustav V, also called the Tennis King. He is not that bad and didn't do a lot of stuff during his reign, but he did support the nationalistic party in Germany, and just that thing, and that he supported the nationalistic party in Sweden during the beginning of his reign and made a lot of chaos in Sweden, I would put him as 22nd, just because it's better people after him. So therefore he will be put at 22nd. The 21st, Gustav IV, he basically just lost Finland. Therefore he's gonna be put as the 21st. Oscar II were king during the last years of the union between Norway and Sweden, and were all the way until Norway did leave the union. But he also were during a time of a lot of immigration away from Sweden, and therefore I put him as the 20th place on this list. Okay, so now we have Charles the 15th of Sweden. I don't know a lot of him, and he weren't king a very long time. But when he was king, it was the time when the most Swedes left Sweden to move to America, and that was very bad for economy. So therefore I will put him as the 19th place of my ranking. Okay, so now we have Sigismund. That's a harder one, because if you only count his time as king in Sweden, that wouldn't be very long, and that time mostly were that he tried to make Sweden Catholics, and that his uncle Charles IX didn't like it and overthrew him. So I don't think that he can be put very high on the list, even if he did a pretty good job in Poland as king there. Okay, so now we are on Charles XIII of Sweden. Again, a king that ruled only 9 years, didn't do a lot. Basically, we're just a king between Gustav III and Charles XIV. So therefore, I have to put him like in the middle of the list. So I'm gonna put him on the 17th place. Okay, so now we have Adolf Fredrik of Sweden. Again, didn't do a very much. We're just king in Sweden during that a very free time for the people. Pretty good. And but he has a funny story how he died. And that's why, and that makes him higher up on the list, because it's more funny. So now we come to the 15th place. And on the 15th place we have Carl the 16th Gustav of Sweden. Again, this is a person that haven't done anything because he haven't had any rule in Sweden and have only been a figurehead for like Sweden. He has said some controversial stuff and stuff like that, but pretty funny and modern. So I would place him about here in the middle. So next we have Oscar the First, one of the kings of the Union with Norway. I don't know a lot about him, but he like held a union, so it seems that he must have been at least some good. Mm, Yeah, that's just the reason he held the union. So now we have the first Swedish queen on this list, and the reason I put her on here is just because she did end the Great Northern War with Russia, and that would mean that she uh, lost all the Baltic, and that's true. But she ended a big war that could have lost more men. So now we have Eric the 14th. He were only king 8 years and didn't have the time to do a lot of stuff. Um, got by a rumor killed by his brother, but no one knows. At least he died in prison because people thought that he were insane. Okay, so this is the first queen of Sweden since her independence. Um, and she were most of her rule just a child, uh, but she did technically rule when the 30-year war and the land that Sweden got from it, and that's some credit that she should get for it. Um, but she did betray all of Sweden when she left for the Papal States and converted into Catholicism. So therefore, I can't really put her in the top 10. Okay, so now I put the top 10. So we are now done all the 13 before this point and are in the top 10. So the top 10 place I would put um, Charles the 12th. Even if he lost the only war he fought in, he did fight bravely against the Russians and were very close of winning that war. So I can't put him higher because he lost, but I can't put him lower because he at least tried his best and fought for the independence of Sweden. And, and Sweden were independent, but we lost some land. So now we have Charles the 14th. He did fight first for France during the Napoleonic Wars, but then in the later years of his life, he fought for Sweden as the Swedish king, and um, helped the coalition against Napoleon to win the war, and that gave Sweden Norway. So just because of that reason, I would put him very high up on the list. So a ninth spot is deserving of him. So now we have Gustav III. He didn't fight in a lot of wars, and he is the last absolute monarch of Sweden. He did do a lot of culture. He liked like theaters and stuff like that. So therefore, I will put him on the 8th place of the best kings in our history. So yeah, next one is Carl the Ninth. He did found one part of the town of Gothenburg. He he built the army, so it were pretty good. He fought against Catholics for the throne of Sweden, and therefore it's just he did a lot of stuff, and therefore I will put him as the 7th best king we have ever had. Okay, now we have John the Third. He's called the Builder King in Sweden because he built all of the castles into like bigger castles that the king could live in. So he renovated our defenses and the houses for the nobility, and therefore I will put him as the 6th best king in Sweden. Okay, so on the 5th spot we have Karl the 10th of Sweden. He first he fought against Poland, and when he were in Poland, the Danish attacked. So he took the whole Swedish army, went right to Denmark, and because it was a very cold winter, he could walk over the ice, and he nearly walked all the way into Copenhagen. And therefore, I think he's deserving of the 5th spot on this list. And on the 4th spot of this list, we have Charles XI, because he built up the army for success, and he built the navy also so Sweden could dominate the Baltic Sea. And as we know, it didn't happen, but still, he did all he could to do that. He also didn't fight a lot of wars. He cared about the people a lot. He even rode around with a grey mantle on him, so no one would know that it's the king. And looked how the Koreans had it in their like military sheds, and all of that made the army strong. So I will put him on the 4th spot of the list. Okay, so now we are on the 3rd spot of this list. The spot that is maybe debated, but I will give this to the founding fathers of Sweden, Gustav Vasa. Just because he founded a nation, built a foundation for all the kings after him to like build on. He put us in a lot of debt. Then he paid off all of that debt, and he held Sweden stable for a lot of years, and therefore I put him as the 3rd spot. Okay, so now I know that technically Axel Oxenstierna is not a king, but he was chancellor during 2 kings and basically ruled the country while Gustav were out warring. So therefore I would put him as a 2nd place. But Gustav II, though, he is, in my opinion, the best king Sweden have ever had. He fought very good against all of his enemies. He died for Sweden on the battlefield in Germany. He established the post system that is a very big part of how to communicate today and have been since. So therefore, he is my pick for the 1st place of this of Wassara Games, the Swedish Kings list. Okay, so now first and foremost, the video is very soon ending, but before it ends, I would ask you to subscribe to the channel, as always, comment in the videos and like. And if you want, comment in this video too. because it will one thing give it more spreading, and because maybe you can learn something from other people that also comments in the video. So this is the end of Wassara Games, the Swedish Kings list, for this time at least.